We have raced right up to the busy Thanksgiving travel week. Millions will be hitting the road to spend the holiday with friends and family. That means filling up the gas tank. So let's check in with one of the nation's top experts on pump prices. Gas Buddy's Patrick DeHaan. Patrick, always good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, how we looking? I know there's at least a couple dozen states or so averaging sub 3 a gallon. What about New York State? Do we still have a chance to get into maybe at least the high 2s by the end of the year?
Well, yeah, maybe a chance. Oof. 28 states, to your point, we're tracking sub $3 prices. Syracuse is really just on the cusp of that. Syracuse averaging about 309 today. The prices are a little bit higher, about 7 cents higher in the last month. We're also about a penny above where we were last year. Statewide, it's a little bit worse. The New York average 313 a gallon, but there is the possibility maybe by Christmas, New York could be joining the sub $3 club. New York's average price is up about 2 cents from last year. That's kind of what the nation is seeing as well. The national average just about a penny above last year. That leads about 25 states that are above a year ago, 25 states below a year ago. All in all, in the run-up to Thanksgiving, it's been one of the more tame Thanksgiving run-ups that we've seen really since the pandemic.
What would you say are some of the factors that are at play right now that are putting gas prices where they are?
Well, a lot of it, I mean, you go back to 2022 when the economy was superheated coming out of COVID. Russia's invasion of Ukraine was active. That led to a record-setting year. But in the years since then, the Federal Reserve has really restrained the economy with higher interest rates. And that's brought us to a point where we're basically on par with last year. Now, the good news is OPEC has raised oil production almost every month this year. They're doing again in the month of December. And that's going to put more downward pressure on prices. The reason why it hasn't yet delivered, if you look at the price of oil is quite a bit below last year. Gas prices slightly above last year. But the good news is refineries, which had been doing maintenance, which interrupts that oil and gas price relationship, are now finishing maintenance, and that should allow gas prices to decline here in the weeks ahead.
I was going to ask you, too, what is it that is, as far as diesel prices go? I mean, because obviously, like, most of us don't drive diesel cars, but diesel seems to be quite a bit higher. And then what does that mean to me if I don't drive something? I don't drive a truck. I don't drive, you know, some other vehicle that needs diesel in there. Why is that important and impactful to our overall economy?
Well, you know, maybe 2% of Americans use diesel, but 98% of us rely on it through the economy, through semi-trucks, goods we buy, airlines that we're jumping on for the holidays. All of that's kind of the middle of the barrel product. Now, diesel prices, to your point, have been heavily impacted by the ongoings with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. President Trump a couple of months ago slapping new sanctions on Russian oil. Russia produces a lot of crude oil, and a lot of that oil is very heavy. A lot of that very heavy crude oil produces a lot of very heavy products like heating oil and diesel. And that's why prices have gone up dramatically because of sanctions on Russian oil and diesel. In addition, earlier this summer when prices really took a big jump, it was about Iran. Iran also a country that produces a lot of oil and a lot of heavy products like diesel. So a lot of what we've been seeing for diesel has been geopolitically related, as well as the fact that diesel and heating oil inventories are about 8% below the 5-year average for this time of year.
Gotcha. I'm going to sneak one last one in there. I actually was going to try to get to it before the diesel one, but since I have time, what is the natural cycle on gas? So we'll leave diesel alone, go back to gas again. What's the natural cycle? So if we can maybe kind of start to see maybe possibly sub 3 by Christmas time, how long do we stay there? Could we go lower before we start, you know, creeping back up again?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, oil and diesel, it's perfectly the opposite. So diesel, just listen to the opposite of what I say for gasoline. Gasoline demand peaks in the summer, diesel the winter. And so as you get into summer, you tend to see prices going up for gasoline in the spring and they decline in the fall. For diesel, it's the exact opposite. And all of it really has to do with supply and demand. The fact that summer is more fueled by gasoline as millions of Americans hit the road. Fall sees falling prices, and in the spring, we will again see gas prices springing up, and diesel prices will start declining after the winter is over.
So we could get at least a couple of months through the winter of lower gas prices, whatever that mark is.
Yeah, I think so. Mid-February, we'll call it. That's the catalyst. That's when we tend to see the inverse. Diesel will start coming down and gasoline will start going up.
All righty. Patrick, always appreciate your insight. Thanks so much for everything. Have a happy Thanksgiving if you're on the road, too.
Thanks, you as well.
All right. Bye now.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.